After a lot of thought and effort and even more thought, I decided to rebrand this series The Mad DM, a diary. In this one, we're going to cover episode 4, which I'm naming Kalarel the Vile. I'm going to do a brief recap. I'm going to share some of my DM notes, and then I'm going to share some notes about the gameplay. And I'm going to try and keep it under 10 minutes. Like, every time I try so far, I'm like 15, 18, 23. Okay, so let's keep it down. Keep it down, bro. All right, recap. Started off inside the Sleeping Giant. Y'all killed the Red Brands. It was not easy, because only Hank was rolling well. Everybody else was rolling real shitty, like real bad. Except for me. I roll good. Way better than I normally roll when I'm in your shoes. When I'm player, like I normally don't roll well. But last night I was 20, 19, 20, 19. You couldn't touch me. But that said, we only took it to 4 rounds of fighting, and it really only went almost a full 4 rounds of fighting. So a full 24 seconds of fighting, which lasted the better part of hour and a half, 2 hours. That's the thing about D&D though. It's just going to take a long time to do battle. Like battle, the thing that takes 6 seconds around takes hours. And the stuff like traveling long distances, minutes. It's done. Like, oh yeah, you guys saw a wildebeest and you ate it. And now you're at your place. When you kill the Red Brands, you hear this crackle of thunder. And it implodes almost on itself and turns into nothing. And then simultaneously there's this crackle of lightning that does the same thing. And as it happens, the front door of the bar opens up and you see that the light from this lightning or whatever it was coalesces into this orb, this glowing orb. And out of the orb comes these 8 creatures. There's zombie skeleton mixes, zombelatons. I don't know. I'm making that up. But they're moving like a reanimated creature, but extremely fast. I mean, they move in the room and they grab all of the bodies that are now deceased. Thankfully, Archie was smart enough to say, "Hey, let's make sure we loot the bodies." So let's just talk about this real quick. This is a DM note, but I'm going to do it in the recap. 3 good roles to live by, and you'll probably do well in D&D. 1, stick with the group, unless you're feeling yourself, like you really want to stick with the group. 2, always check for traps. 3, always loot the body. Perhaps check for traps before you loot the body, depending on where it is or the circumstances under which you found it, but always, always, always loot the body. This is Dungeons and Dragons. We're looking for the booty, you know what I'm saying? The loot. So after those things all leave, then another like humanoid figure starts to form out of the orb and starts moving into the room. It starts gliding into the room. You notice this figure, it's got red flowing gown or robe, and it's got this belt with a glowing ember and some kind of a necklace with a glowing stone, or they're both stones. That's not an ember, it's a stone, damn it. And he's this creature, which you now know as Kalarel the Vile, is just floating as if by magic or something. Kind of cockamamie game is this? A couple inches off the ground, you can't really tell. You can't tell how tall he is. And he floats into the room and goes straight to Lamthal, the owner of the bar, whose name you barely got at the end before you left the bar, and just says to him in a very whispery tone. He's whispering to him, and you know this only because although he's whispering directly to one person in the back corner of the bar, each one of you hear it in your ear as if he is right next to you in your ear, whispering in your ear. More magic? The hell? And he just says, "Thank you. Thank you for keeping your end of the bargain. Here's your payment." And as he does that, the bartender's shaking. He is definitely not happy, and he has his arms planted at his sides, stiff as can be, and one of them just starts moving up, and you can tell he's trying to resist it. And his hand, he's trying to fight it down, and Kalarel drops some gold. Only one of you noticed this, but it was not regular gold. It was this dark red, blood red gold. Some of it falls to the ground. And one of you, this would be Bean, also noticed that his face is nothing but a mask. It looked like a white porcelain mask. No markings, smooth and burning red eyes underneath. Just fiercely angry, burning red eyes. So he leaves. As he's leaving, a couple people make a couple comments. He ignores. I think he actually hisses as a sign of humor at one of them. And then he gets 2 axes lodged in his back because Hank, my man Hank, God bless you, steps up, rolls a crit, throws an axe, lodges in this dude's back, gets another roll because he's a half-orc, and he critted. Another axe in the back, 2 axes in this thing's back, and it just goes, and the axes dislodge and fly across the room, back at Hank, into his neck, into his stomach, taking him down to 0 hit points. He dead. What I forgot to take into account is that half-orcs have a racial ability that when they go to 0, they get to come back with 1 hit point. So Kalarel hears him gasp back to life, turns around, surveys the room, looks at him, does some type of a gesture and incantation, and Hank starts to turn to stone, and Kalarel gone. Hank is now 50% stone. Enter another person or another figure. Turns out it's this woman, this female elf, this female drow named Mavia. And she runs over to Hank and she's like, "You idiots, like, what are you doing?" Now, a couple things. Here's a couple notes. Here's what you notice about this Kalarel dude, whose name you didn't know when he walked in or floated in. You know that he is higher level than anything you've seen. A couple of you have seen some pretty high level things. Archie, dragon destroyed your town. It was a young green dragon. Was it young green? No, it was a young red dragon. And that's an extremely powerful beast. This mage, stronger. The rest of you haven't really seen anything quite this powerful, this kind of a display of power. So you guys knew that this is some shit. She walks in and you realize, later you talk to her and she kind of gives some indication that she's an adventurer. You guys didn't really probe into what kind of adventuring, how long. I can tell you now that she has been adventuring much longer than you guys, so she's seeing a lot more. So she knows a lot about the world. And she says, that was Kalarel the Vile. He's the most powerful archmage in the realm. Maybe not in the entire realm, in the area that you're in right now, or a couple regions in the realm, but he's very powerful. And she happens to have a vial of Gorgon blood. She says some stuff, casts a little bit of a spell, and puts the blood on his stoned legs, and bam, he's good. He's good to go. So after that, you all go back to the inn. There's some stuff that happened there, but it wasn't important. Go back to the inn. You meet with Tobin, and he tells you, like, hey, you know, I got some people together. Tomorrow morning, we're going to talk about what they'll do for you if you can get rid of the red brands. Morning comes, and you guys are talking to the crew. I think it's Leanne Coaster, it's Tobin, the owner of the Red, or the Stone Hill Inn. It's Harbin, the town master, and there's probably a couple other people. And they tell you, like, hey, we'll collect all the gold we can and give it to you. Leanne tells you that she was supposed to have a shipment come that day that never arrived. And she's kind of thinking, she remembers you told her that there were some goblins on your way in that killed some horses. And she's like, well, maybe they took my stuff too. So they're like, hey, if you can find her stuff, we will give you some of it. We know there's healing potions, there's some supplies, some food, and probably some weapons you might be interested in. And then Harbin, the hapless, jolly old fool of a town master, says, hey, you know, like the manor, Tressendor Manor up on the hill, which you happen to know the Red Brand's lair is underneath. He's like, our nobles left us 100 or more years ago. And he didn't say this last night, but what you are starting to gather about Phandelver is it used to be a bit more of a thriving town. Had a mining culture. There was some wealth. There were a lot of travelers and adventurers. And there were these nobles that helped keep the area safe. They brought money in. They brought wealth. They had a little bit of a garrison and an army to protect. And they just left. And the town, along with some other events, kind of fell. And he said, maybe I can get you guys the deed. Like, if you can get rid of these scum, and maybe, like, it would be nice to keep you guys around a little bit. And he's kind of looking at it like, these guys, if you can actually take them out, you're capable. And it would be helpful for him to have some muscle around to keep stuff like this from happening again. So that's those are the main things. I think you decided you're going to go to the Red Brand hideout and try and deal with them. So we'll see how that works out. That'll be interesting. I actually expected you to get through the fight in episode 2, but we started episode 3 in the beginning stages of the fight. We ended the fight, which actually gave me the opportunity to bring Mavia. So that's when I brought my friend Kat to play Mavia, and I had her plan it the whole time, like, oh yeah, she's just here to watch, but she was really here to play Mavia. I was like, it could be an interesting point to bring in a guest character. I was really wanting to introduce Kalarel last week, but I was glad I got to do it this week. And I really needed one of you to attack, so thank you, Kev. Thank you, Hank. And it's really actually a beautiful moment. I probably need to give you some role-playing points, because it's something that the paladin would do. He would sense evil, and he wouldn't like it, and he would attack. He would say, this isn't, what's going on? This guy's collecting dead bodies and giving blood gold, and no, I'm going to throw an axe in his back. And that's what you did. And I needed that because I really wanted him to be able to display his power to show you just how bad he is. And he really didn't quite do it. Like, he could have just Thanos'd you. Talk about the Mad DM. He could have gotten the Mad Titan on you. And because if you hadn't, he was just going to float out of the room. Because basically, he sees you guys as ants. Like, that's why he didn't respond to you. He didn't see a need to respond to any of you. What else? So welcome to level 2. Everybody made it to level 2. And so next session, we're going to get to roll HP. All of you will probably get one class feature. It's probably a cool little mechanic. Nothing to write home about. Level 3 is where it starts to get really interesting. I think Wizard gets, level 2, Wizard gets another spell. The Rogue is going to get like Cunning Strike or something like that. Like, you're going to get another feature. There's a couple features for everybody, so that'll be cool. Level 3 is really where it's at, though. That's where you're going to really start to see some cool stuff. So some gameplay mechanics. I thought you guys did some really good role-playing stuff. Archie asked some really, really, really good questions that kept you guys like from making some big mistakes. And there was a cool moment where Mavia and Melman were talking, and Melman was like, I don't know if I trust her. And I'm like, all right, great point. Roll an insight check. And then she rolled a charisma check. And that's something you can do. And Bean did this later. He was talking to Leanne. He had noticed something in her shop, and he was trying to communicate an idea to her, but he wasn't sure how to use the words. So I was just like, well, no. You don't have to say it the way your character would say it. Tell me what you're trying to accomplish, and we'll work through how it's said, or just coming to an agreement that it was said in a way that lands the way you want, or it's not. Like, depending on the situation, I'll be like, nope, you're going to have to figure it out. But that's just a note to, like, talk it out. There was some metagaming stuff, which, like, I don't think metagaming is the end of the world. Like, talking about the game in either what you know as a human being towards the fact that you're playing a game, or that's basically what it is. So there was a moment where somebody on, like, this side of the room was commenting on something over here, and it's like, well, you wouldn't have seen that, or you wouldn't have known that it happened. And when there's moments like that, I'll just say, yeah, you don't know that. You can't make a decision based on what happened there. Kind of like when Archie was upstairs searching, and he had a poor search. He didn't find anything but socks in a drawer. And somebody's like, oh, well, can I go up then? It's like, why would you know to go up? Like, why are you going upstairs? Not that you can't, but you don't know that his search didn't yield anything. And he can't come down and be like, I rolled terrible. It's more like, guys, I searched really well, and I didn't find anything. I don't think there's anything there. Now, you might not trust him. Like, you could have said, well, I just met this guy, and I don't trust him. I bet he can't search. And I'm going to go upstairs. I'm like, yeah, that's a viable reason for you to go upstairs. So think through that. And that's another thing, like interacting with the world around you, talking to the people you meet. Because really, like, I'm going to paint the picture in broad strokes, and I'm going to give you pieces of information from people. But a lot of people don't know you. They're going to be hesitant to give you information. So you really got to try and pull stuff out of people to the degree that they're going to share it. And that's really it. So we're going to get ready to roll some HP, get into level 2, and get after it. I don't think I was successful in keeping this short, but whatever, because it's baller. It don't matter. Diary of a Mad DM. The Mad DM. A diary. A place where you will come to learn that I am learning. And you are also learning too.